Chapter 3. Xion and Roxas. He had been sent to Castle Oblivion plenty of times before. The castle was home to an extremely special place, though few of the organization's members knew about it. Axel finished his preparations for the trip and left his room. He wouldn't be back for a while.
"Axel, I have a message from Lord Xemnas,"
someone said from behind him. He paused in the hallway and wordlessly turned to meet an impassive Cyax.
"We have reason to believe that one or more of the members posted at Castle Oblivion intend to betray us. Find them and dispose of them."
That was a rather roundabout way of putting it. There was no one else in the vicinity. Why was Cyax delivering his message so evasively? Axel's eyes narrowed in suspicion. Then again, Cyax did prefer to express himself in ambiguous, indirect ways.
"Really? Exact words straight from Lord Xemnas' own lips?"
Axel remarked before he could stop himself. Cyax raised one eyebrow.
"Does it matter?" "Actually, yeah, I think it does."
Unable to deny that, Cyax let out a sigh.
"You have your orders. Eliminate the traitors." "Okay, got it."
As soon as Axel acknowledged him, Cyax spun on his heels and left. There were 6 going to Castle Oblivion, including Axel himself. So how many of them were traitors, and what was this betrayal even about? Was he supposed to figure out everything by himself? What was going on over there at Castle Oblivion? It did spark his interest, just a little. He didn't notice the smile forming on his lips. When he got up, Roxas took the ice cream stick from beside his pillow and slid it into his pocket as he headed out. If he was a winner, he wanted to know what he'd won. Axel! He ran into the gray area, but Axel was nowhere to be seen.
"Axel already left,"
said Cyax, striding past him. What? He had missed seeing off Axel? Cyax glanced back at Roxas.
"Did you need something?"
Nothing." He looked down, avoiding Cyax's gaze.
"All right. Today, Roxas, you will be taking a mission with Xion."
"Oh, really?" Roxas raised his head. The small figure stood in the corner, hood pulled up as always. He still hadn't seen Xion's face.
"Together you will eliminate a particular heartless,"
Cyax instructed him.
"Roxas, you are in charge."
"Me? Okay." Roxas nodded, but he couldn't tell whether Xion was listening or not. "Let's go." Xion didn't move a muscle. Not sure what else to do, Roxas opened a dark portal and stepped in. Then, in his peripheral vision, he saw the 14th organization member move to follow him. In the corridors of darkness, he looked back, and Xion was there behind him, face still hidden under the organization cloak's deep hood. Roxas didn't have much to say, so he just kept walking. The mission was in Twilight Town again. Roxas charged up the slope, swinging the Keyblade and scattering the plant-shaped Heartless in Twilight Town. Behind him, Xion was keeping up, and nothing else. His partner for the mission had no weapon, no magic, no will, apparently, to do any more than follow him like a shadow. One of the plant Heartless fired a barrage of seeds. Even after being struck, Xion didn't cry out and only fell silently to the ground. For an instant, Roxas hesitated about whether to offer a hand, but he brought the Keyblade down on the offending Heartless. It disappeared, and the heart it released rose into the sky. "That should do it," said Roxas. Xion wordlessly stood up, without even brushing the grit from the black cloak. Well, it was awkward, but they had carried out the mission, Roxas thought. "I've got some place to be," he said. "You can go ahead and RTC without me." Again, without giving any acknowledgement, Xion started walking away, probably back toward the portal to the corridors. Roxas headed to the sweet shop in the tram common. The mission was finished, and it was time for ice cream. Just going back and forth between work and the castle was no fun. "1 sea salt ice cream, please," he said to the lady at the shop counter. "That'll be 20 money," she said. He handed over 2 10-money coins and took the ice cream bar in its clear plastic film. He realized this was his first time making the purchase himself. Axel had always bought it for him. With the cold prize in his hand, Roxas started out of the shop, then paused. He still had the stick from yesterday's ice cream in his pocket. He held it out to the shopkeeper. "What's this mean?" Why, look at that! You're a winner! Congratulations!
Congratulations? It was a new word to Roxas. Was that what he'd won?
You get another ice cream on the house, she told him.
How much?
He didn't know what on the house meant either, but he had heard that one could get things in exchange for money or for hearts. No, it's free. You won. Have you got a friend you'd like to treat?
I do, but he's not here today.
He thought of Axel. Then why don't you save this until you come back with your friend? You'll get a tummy ache if you eat 2 ice cream bars by yourself after all. The shopkeeper returned the winner stick to him.
With my friend. Okay. When Axel comes back, I can show him the stick, and we'll have ice cream together.
With today's reward in hand, Roxas headed to the clock tower. In the depths of the castle that never was, there was a white room with a pod in the middle of the floor like an enormous flower bud. Hooked up to the pod was a machine with several monitors. Sayak stood in front of it, typing on the keyboard. As the door opened, he turned.
Ah, Xion.
Downcast and silent, Xion wore the black hood up, as it probably had been during the entire mission with Roxas.
We've prepared your room, said Sayax. You'll rest here from now on.
Number 14 said nothing, as usual.
Have an underling show you. Vexen won't be back for a while. Come to me if you need anything.
Sayax wasn't concerned by the lack of response. Xion simply waited. Castle Oblivion stood in the realm between, the liminal place belonging to neither darkness nor light, but somewhere in the middle, and its existence was not widely known. It was home to the world shadow with mist that never cleared, and worlds made of paths that went on and on forever. By traversing through those places, which they came to call the corridors of darkness, members of the organization could travel from the realm between into other worlds that were otherwise isolated. In a certain room in Castle Oblivion, Axel lounged on a sofa, similar to the one in the gray area of the castle that never was. It was just as uncomfortable. Castle Oblivion was an odd place. It had 2 equally huge sections above and below ground, and the memories that had power over each floor would change the rooms depending on who was inside them. The one keeping the castle in its current state was a witch who could manipulate memories, Namine. Using her power, the organization was carrying out a plan to rewrite the memories of the Keyblade Master. But Namine was not human, in fact, nor was she a Heartless. Perhaps she wasn't even a nobody. After all, the way she had come into being was completely unique. She was born from the heart of a princess. In front of Axel, Marluxia was studying an image of Sora, the Keyblade Master, on a large crystal ball set in the middle of the room. The organization's objective was to gather hearts, and for that they needed the power of the Keyblade. But they already had a Keyblade wielder, Roxas. Was the organization trying to get more of them under their control? What exactly was this Keyblade thing anyway? Axel kept hearing that only very special people could wield it, but they had already found 2, Sora and Roxas, 1 human and 1 nobody. Then Marluxia turned away from the crystal ball to face Axel.
So, how are things going for the others below?
The question caught him off guard, but Axel kept from showing it as he got to his feet. The above-ground team consisted of the newer members, namely Marluxia and Larxene, while the older members, Vexen and Zexion and Lexaeus, who had once been apprentices of Ansem the Wise, composed the underground team. Apparently, the 2 factions were at cross purposes. As a newer member, Axel had been posted above ground, and under Marluxia's orders, he was to spy on the underground team.
Looks like they have a guest too, said Axel. Riku. Heard that name before?
He knew that the heartless form of Xehanort, calling himself Ansem, had possessed Riku at some point, and Xehanort was deeply tied to Xemnas.
Ah yes, the one who once merged himself with the darkness, Marluxia murmured. Oh, you've done your homework.
Ever since they'd learned Sora had entered Castle Oblivion's above-ground floors, while Riku was doing the same underground, things had gotten a bit hectic.
And what are they planning? Couldn't say, but you know about the experiments they're doing down there, right?
6 of them might have been posted to the same location, but that didn't mean they knew anything about the others' tasks or objectives. members of the organization essentially worked alone.
Are you referring to that nonsense Vexen likes to call science?
Marluxia remarked.
Is it nonsense? I can't imagine that puppet will be of any use. Now then, it's time for me to greet our hero. The Keyblade Master is almost here.
With that, Marluxia vanished. Even within Castle Oblivion, the organization members could move about using the corridors. Following his lead, Axel left the room by the same method. When Roxas went to the gray area the next morning, he saw Xion there, along with the chattier duo of Demyx and Xigbar.
Isn't it like a million times nicer here without all those bossy jerks?
Remarked Demyx, attempting to engage their number 14 in a conversation, but Xion remained hooded and silent.
Bossy jerks?
Roxas came to join them.
You know, the dream team who got shipped off to Castle Oblivion.
Demyx shrugged and glanced mischievously at Xigbar.
Dreamy for me because they're gone, am I right? Too bad you and Poppet here didn't get more quality time with them,
Xigbar said to Roxas.
Poppet?
He had no idea who that was.
Xion! I'm talking about Xion, kiddo!
Xigbar seemed amused by the reply.
Kiddo?
Roxas was about to add that his name was not Kiddo when Sykes interrupted him.
Roxas, get to work. Today you'll go to Twilight Town with Xion again and defeat Heartless.
Right, he replied. Xion still didn't give a response. Sykes, however, didn't appear to have expected one. Roxas turned to Xion and opened the corridors of darkness without any further discussion. Either he would have a partner today, or he wouldn't. But when he glanced back, there was Xion following him, just like yesterday. The mission was to take out a swarm of Heartless in Twilight Town's sandlot. Roxas didn't bother giving Xion any instructions before charging in, Keyblade in hand, but today it went differently. In the midst of the melee, he caught a glimpse of Xion casting spells, not just standing there blankly like before. After he defeated the last Heartless, he could feel his partner watching him.
"I've got someplace to be again today," said Roxas, "so you can RTC without me."
He had just started to walk away when he heard a voice. Roxas.
Huh?
He had never heard so much as a sound out of Xion.
"What did you say?"
he asked, turning around. The voice was feminine. Xion's face was still shadowed under the hood, but she didn't move. Just as he started wondering if he had imagined the whole thing, Xion spoke again. "That's your name, isn't it? Roxas."
"Well, what else would it be?" he thought. "I don't have any other names."
"Yeah," he said aloud. She nodded and stepped into the corridors. A strange feeling came over him. "Roxas," he murmured. He would go to the sweet shop to clear his head. Marluxia's face was hidden under his hood as he greeted the Keyblade Master and his companions, Sora with Donald and Goofy. Axel peeked at them from a blind corner. With his Keyblade at the ready, Sora did look a lot like Roxas. They were on the first story of Castle Oblivion.
"So, did you enjoy meeting the shadows of your memories?"
Marluxia taunted.
"It was good to see everyone,"
said Sora.
"But what do you really want from me?"
Marluxia folded his arms, considering his answer carefully. If he could, Axel wanted to speak with Sora, although that definitely wasn't part of Marluxia's plan. Too bad. "Hello!" he announced, appearing beside Marluxia.
"What do you want?"
Predictably, Marluxia did not sound very happy.
"No hogging the hero now."
Axel bent down to peer at Sora from eye level.
"They really are similar."
Sora glared right back at them both.
"Then perhaps you'd like to test him?"
Marluxia tossed 3 cards to Axel.
"Perhaps I would."
Axel replied with mock enthusiasm. With nothing more to say, Marluxia promptly disappeared. "Hey, wait!" Sora ran for the portal, but Axel blocked his path.
"My show now, Keyblade Master."
"Who are you?" Sora readied his weapon again.
"Oh, my name's Axel. Got it memorized?"
He remembered introducing himself to Roxas only days ago. "Axel," Sora mumbled, then straightened to meet his eyes.
"Good, you're a quick learner."
Axel grinned and summoned his chakrams. Behind Sora, Donald raised his wand, and Goofy brandished his shield.
"So, Sora, now that we're getting to know each other better, don't go and die on me now."
With that, Axel leaped up and took his first swipe at Goofy.
"Whoa!"
Goofy went sprawling. Whack! Donald was next, wand and all. Only Sora was left standing. After a moment, Axel swung his arms downward, and a wall of flame burst up from the floor. It pressed in on Sora. Look out, you'll get roasted. Donald and Goofy had backed away, but Sora called out to them, grabbing each by the hand. The trio ran straight at the flames and rolled on the floor to make it through. Oh, not bad. Axel smirked as Sora dashed at him, keyblade swinging. His chakrams deflected the blow, but he pretended that it had struck home and disappeared on the spot. There's no need to bring down Sora. In fact, there was every reason not to. Still hiding, Axel threw the cards he'd received from Marluxia into Sora's open hand. So, we're supposed to use these and keep going, said Sora. That's right, Axel replied, revealing himself again. Axel! Apparently, he really did think he'd won. Must be a shock. Did you really think I'd give up Bo so easily after an introduction like that? Axel teased. You were testing us, huh? Sora brandished his keyblade. And you passed! Congratulations! You're ready now, ready to take on Castle Oblivion, said Axel. You will need to follow your memories, trust what you remember, and seek what you forgot. Then you'll find someone very special. Goofy cocked his head. You mean King Mickey and Riku? You'll just have to give it some more thought to who it is that's most important to you. Our most precious memories lie so deep within our hearts that they're out of reach. And I'm sure that you can find yours, Sora. Why me? Sora shifted from his fighting stance into a more thoughtful posture. As Axel fanned Sora's curiosity, he fell into thought himself. Nobodies were guided by their memories, but that was precisely why they might lose sight of what those memories meant. Maybe it could really happen, and now, here in Castle Oblivion, Sora was about to have the secrets of his memory twisted and tangled by Naminé the Witch, and Marluxia the Schemer. We have to switch out Sora's memories here in this castle, Axel thought, and so he continued his speech to lay the groundwork for their plan. You've lost sight of the light within the darkness, and it seems that you've forgotten what you forgot. The light within the darkness, Sora murmured, as if it reminded him of something. Axel seized on that. You want me to give you a hint? Goofy looked uncertainly at his friend. Sora, do you need it? I'm gonna figure it out for myself, Sora retorted, angrily gripping the Keyblade again. Good answer! Just what I'd expect from the Keyblade Master, but be forewarned. When your sleeping memories awaken, you may no longer be who you are now. Leaving them to ponder that, Axel disappeared for real this time. It was 3 days since Axel had gone to Castle Oblivion. Just like yesterday, Xion was standing in the lobby. Actually, it wasn't quite the same, Roxas realized. The moment he walked into the gray area, Xion turned the tiniest bit to look at him from under her hood. Or at least, he thought she did. He walked over to her. Morning, Xion. She didn't answer him, but maybe that glance had been his imagination after all. Roxas wasn't sure what to say next. Still, she was different from before. Xion was looking at him. Do you need anything? That was all he came up with. It sounded weird when he was the one approaching her, but he didn't have any better ideas. Then, good morning, Roxas. That was an answer, a greeting. He couldn't have imagined it coming from Xion yesterday. Yeah. Roxas stammered, fumbling to offer a reply, just as Saïx stepped up to them. I have a mission of critical importance for you two, said Saïx. A giant Heartless has surfaced. Eliminate it. A giant Heartless? All his missions so far had been taking out Heartless, but Roxas had never handled anything giant. Yes, Saïx replied. Be on your guard. Roxas nodded. Let's go, Xion. It seemed to him like Xion nodded too. They stepped from the corridors of darkness atop the stairs from the Twilight Town sandlot, squinting into the red rays of the setting sun. Roxas. He turned. Xion was looking at him. He still couldn't read her expression under her hood, but just then she slowly pushed it back to reveal black hair and a girlish face. Roxas had the feeling he must have met her somewhere before, but this was the first time he'd seen her face. Let's get that thing. Xion smiled. Right, let's go. They didn't know where the giant Heartless might be, but there are only a few places in Twilight Town where something huge would have room to move around. Like that wide open space by the clock tower at the station. Roxas took off at a run. As they arrived at the station plaza, the bells tolled like some kind of omen. The air trembled, and they could hear something roaring from behind him. Roxas reflexively spun around to see an enormous pitch-black humanoid creature rising out of the ground. This was the giant Heartless, a dark side. That's our target! He summoned his Keyblade. You ready? At its full height, the dark side stood nearly as tall as the clock tower. Yeah, Xion replied. She didn't have a weapon at all, but Roxas imagined she would back him up with magic, like before. He rushed at the dark side. It had a hollow through its chest in the shape of a heart, giving him an unpleasant chill as he realized he could see right through it. Was it attacking in search of the heart it had lost? His mind was wandering. Trying to shake it off, he sprang up and aimed for the dark side's arm. The Keyblade pierced through the haze of darkness that seemed to envelop it and struck home. Behind him, Xion flung a fireball at the dark side's head. It let out an eerie cry and plunged a fist into the ground. Inky darkness gathered around it and flung Xion and Roxas away with a terrible shockwave. Groaning, Roxas somehow kept his balance and charged at the monstrous fist with a sweeping blow, but the dark side batted aside the Keyblade and Roxas with it. Oh no! The Keyblade went flying from his hand and spinning across the ground. It stopped at Xion's feet, and then the next thing they knew, she was holding it. What? While Roxas was recovering from the tumble, Xion took a running start and launched herself at the dark side. High in the air, she brought down the Keyblade and dealt it a final blow. She touched down on the far side as it dissolved into shadowy mist. Wow, Roxas murmured, finally getting to his feet. Xion can use my weapon? All the members of the organization had their own weapons. He had never heard of anyone using someone else's. The Keyblade returned from Xion's hand to Roxas's. Xion, I didn't know you could use the Keyblade, said Roxas. Yeah, neither did I. She smiled, a little bit awkward. He had never even entertained the thought that someone besides him might be able to wield it. In his hand, the Keyblade glowed and vanished, as it always did after the fighting was done. It gave him an odd feeling. This was new to him, ending a mission with the exciting sense of discovery. And now it was time for... Right. You did amazing, Xion, said Roxas. You deserve a little something extra. Extra? Xion echoed in surprise. Yeah, I know a good spot, but first, the icing on the cake. He gave her a grin. Wait right here. Huh? Roxas, hold on. He raced off for the sweets shop. After Roxas returned to the station plaza with 2 ice cream bars, he and Xion climbed up the clock tower. At the shop, he was almost tempted to use the winter freebie, but held off. He had already decided to use it when Axel came back. How did you find such a great spot? Xion wondered. Let's sit down. Okay. She sat in front of the clock face, gazing toward the sunset in the distance. Here you go. Roxas handed her an ice cream. She stared at it curiously. What is it? Sea salt ice cream. Go on, try it. Well, okay. Xion took a tiny bite and murmured, It's sweet, but kinda salty, too. It's really good, right? Me and Axel always come up here and have ice cream after work. Roxas bit down on his, too. Salty and sweet, perfectly balanced. It's Axel's favorite. Xion looked at him, laughing a little as he told her about his faraway friend. Sounds like it's your favorite, too. I guess it is. He nodded and took another bite. Axel took me here for ice cream my very first day with the organization. And then, after my first mission, he treated me again. Icing on the cake, he called it. Like you just treated me, said Xion. Yup. He didn't really understand the icing part, except that it was ice cream. Like winter, though. It meant something special. So, when Axel came back, Roxas would use the freebie and get him some icing. Beside him, Xion savored her ice cream, kicking her dangling feet. You two must be really close, she said after a moment. Roxas wasn't sure how to respond to that, but then he remembered the right word. Well, Axel and I are friends. Do you think I could be a friend? Xion peered at him uncertainly. When Axel gets back, we can all have ice cream together. Roxas took a bite to punctuate the declaration. Axel would be back soon, and then they would get ice cream. The three of them. He wasn't sure yet if he would be friends with Xion, but if he did, he thought, that wouldn't be so bad.